I promised I would only speak for about half an hour about Ellen, so I'll keep it brief. I have known Ellen for the last 10 years, and it is my pleasure to introduce you to her. She is the Executive Director of the Vermont Sustainable Jobs Fund. She has led VSJF since 2005, part of a career dedicated to sustainable solutions to Vermont's economic and workforce challenges. Anyone who knows her knows Ellen is much, much more than that. For one, she's usually introducing the keynotes, not giving them, because she's usually too busy getting things done. Among her many accomplishments, she's responsible, she wouldn't say this maybe, but she's responsible for the farm to school and farm to table movements in Vermont. Those efforts proved essential for Vermont during COVID, when Ellen tapped these networks to help keep people fed and keep people working. An example of how Ellen builds resilience into all of her work. If there's a Vermont Leadership Award, Ellen's probably won it. If there's a board focused on Vermont's resources, energy, working lands, the economy, she's probably been on it, and she's probably been in charge of it. She's cultivated a lifetime of working relationships, from governors, lawmakers, nonprofit leaders, and academics, to farmers, foresters, and small business owners. I could go on for a lot longer, but I won't. So I'll just say that Ellen is an accelerator. She brings her deep experience to any problem and gets everyone moving faster to a sustainable solution. Now, please welcome your BBD keynote speaker, Ellen Kahler.
Oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Yeah, I got it. I'm just getting settled here. Thank you so much, Peter. Very sweet of you. Yeah, nice to see all of you here. Thank you so much for the invitation. I should go to my slide. There we go. Thank you so much for the invitation and this opportunity to be with you today. I'm actually quite embarrassed to admit that I've never attended this conference before. I always hear people rave about it, though, and how much that you learn, the practical information you get from it, how much you love connecting with each other. So I'm really glad to finally be here to experience the good vibes for myself today. This year's Better Building by Design theme that Peter was just mentioning, the tight margins, bold moves, building for affordability, efficiency, and electrification, really resonates with the times we're in, as Peter just walked us through. Through the VSJF's business coaching and our Tools of the Trade program, we see firsthand just how tight margins are for small businesses across the state. Let's face it, we have big aspirations in Vermont when it comes to reducing the use of fossil fuels, greenhouse gas emissions, and implementing a wide range of efficiency and renewable energy solutions. We like to go bold here in Vermont. And the second part of the title, Building for Affordability, Efficiency, and Electrification, requires a real balancing act. It means, in part, looking for the most cost-effective options that deliver the greatest efficiency possible with the most electrification possible, balancing the often higher upfront costs that yield the greatest returns over the life of the building. And as all of you know, this is no easy task. So those of you who are not familiar with the Vermont Sustainable Jobs Fund, let me share a little bit about who we are and what we do. The VSJF is a nonprofit organization that's committed to accelerating the sustainable development of Vermont's economy, and we originally were created by an act of the legislature back in 1995. Our mission is to nurture economic prosperity, ecological health, and social connectivity for people, businesses, organizations, communities across Vermont for the benefit and well-being of all who live here. In 1995, the concept of sustainable development, which is balancing the economic, social, and environmental priorities of our state, was considered pretty radical. But as you all know, today, it's a mainstream concept. The legislature tasked us with strengthening Vermont's economy across 5 green economy sectors: agriculture and food, energy, forest and fiber, waste management, and environmental technology. We do this in a few key ways. We provide direct one-to-one and small group business assistance and coaching. We unite stakeholders across a number of supply chains by providing coordination and facilitation services. We serve as the backbone to diverse networks in our designated market sectors, and we conduct industry-level strategic planning. One example of this work is our Vermont Farm to Plate program, which Peter mentioned, where we were tasked by the legislature actually twice to create 10-year strategic statewide plans for strengthening Vermont's food system. It's just a little project. So VSJF has dedicated, hardworking, and creative staff and an 11-member board of directors that includes 3 administration officials and 8 independent board members. So we're a very interesting hybrid and independent nonprofit organization with strong ties to the legislature and the administration. Oops, come on. Oops, there we go, sorry. Some of our programs most relevant to the BBD conference include our Tools of the Trade program, Business Fundamentals for Energy Pros, which supports small business owners in weatherization and renewable energy installation to improve core business operations so that they are better positioned to hire and retain more employees. And is Kurt Erickson? Kurt Erickson is our program manager, so if you're interested, stand up just so people can see you. If anybody's interested in this program, you can see Kurt throughout the day. He'll be here all day and all day tomorrow. Thank you, Kurt. And I also really want to give a big shout out to Will Schwartz and Juliana Bortz from the Energy Efficiency Network for helping to fund this program. They make it possible along with BED and VGS. The other couple of programs that may be of interest is our Delta Climb VT program and our Forest Business Accelerators. Each support a cohort of startup companies annually to help them improve and prepare for taking their technologies, products, and services to market and to raise investment capital. And our business coaching program works with entrepreneurs and their management teams with at least $500,000 in revenue who are expanding, pivoting, or in some other way managing dynamic changes impacting their business. We actually did this a couple of years ago with New Frameworks, who I know many folks are here in the room today, and I'm excited to see that Jacob Rakusin will be part of 2 workshops at this conference. And as an aside, I was also excited to see that Andrew Fast from UNH and Ricky McLean from Mass Timber Advisors will be leading a workshop on the benefits of mass timber and the current mass timber offerings using local species, a very key new development. Christine McGowan, who directs our forest and fiber program, has worked closely with Andrew and Ricky for many years, supporting efforts to advance mass timber building across our region. And on a personal note, I was interested to see that there are 2 sessions on the use of structural insulated panels for homes. Our own home, built in 2008, is a 5-star plus energy rated home built using SIPs. And the folks at Silver Maple Construction encouraged their use when they were just this really small and just getting started design build firm back in 2008. And those of you who have worked with Silver Maple Construction know, like, they're everywhere now. So far, so good on our home. It's nice and tight, so I'm a big fan of the SIPs. We also published a resource series called Business Sense, which is free to download off of our website. Our business coaches wrote them, 30 different briefs covering topics such as cash flow planning, metrics and KPIs, creating an advisory board for your business, effective hiring processes, knowing your customer, and revenue forecasting, to name just a few. So encourage you to check those out. So my remarks today are going to focus on one piece of the session title, Cultivating Effective Business Practices in Uncertain Market Environments. And I want to zero in on the reality of change and uncertainty, as well as share some ideas and concepts of navigating through uncertainty during the chaotic times we're living through. Now, it's important to acknowledge and name the challenges that we have all been facing during the change in federal landscape since January of 2025. The word that comes to my mind is whiplash. But before I talk about what's felt destabilizing, it's also important to acknowledge, as Peter did, a lot of important progress that's been made. Despite an insufficient global response to climate change at the scale and pace needed, Vermonters are weatherizing their homes and installing clean energy solutions, especially heat pumps, rooftop solar, and batteries. EV purchases have increased and more high-speed charging stations have been installed. The first neighborhood-scale housing development will soon heat and cool 36 new homes with geothermal energy in Heinsberg. Utilities are still moving forward with their renewable energy installation goals and plans. Mutual aid groups are building community across the state to support our neighbors during times of personal and/or community-scale emergencies. There's increased focus on building more affordable and middle-income housing. We are finally seeing some mass timber usage in building design, and an exciting bio-based materials for building network has been developed in the region, thanks again to Jacob Recusen and the team at New Frameworks. And then, over the past 15 months, we've felt a significant swing in the other direction, a kind of whiplash, such as the on and off again tariffs, the impact of price on products produced both here at home and in other countries, significant supply chain disruptions, attacks on science and research, climate change denial rhetoric, and changes to energy policy preferencing dirty energy sources, ending solar, battery, and EV tax credits, attempts to weaken CAFE standards, a barrage of court cases, major immigration crackdowns, the likes we've never seen before, the assault on trained and professional federal employees, the war of choice with Iran that has dramatically raised gas prices, the ending of Biden-era funding to subsidize the creation of more housing at low and middle-income levels, Act 181 land use issues, workforce shortages due to demographics. That's 15 months, and I'm sure you could add more to this list, right? So I really think it's important to state out loud what might seem obvious to you after just hearing that list, but all of this is outside the control of your business or organization, all of it. So now I want to invite you into this conversation a little more personally. So take in this image. Place yourself where this person is standing. Notice how it feels in your body. Just take it in. Take a deep breath. Just notice how it feels. Okay. So now I'm going to ask, when I say go, I'm going to ask you to turn to someone near you. And the first person, introduce yourselves to each other. Then the first person's going to take 3 minutes, which I'm going to have a little timer so you'll know when it's time to switch. First person speaks uninterrupted. Just share something about what feelings arose and what this image evokes for you. All right? Then I'm going to do a little gong and we'll switch. And the next person will do the same thing, talk a little bit about what arose and what this image evokes for you. And then you'll have about 2 minutes to just chat amongst yourselves to see what you both noticed or what was different, okay? I've never done this before with a room this size, so this is gonna be really interesting to see how you do, okay? So find someone, introduce, then one person speaks for three, and then 2. Ready? Go. Okay, next person. I think you're doing this discussion thing all too soon. The other person now should say something. 3 minutes. Okay, now if you haven't moved into just discussing a little bit about what you noticed that was similar or different and what you both were, you shared about what you're feeling, you've got a minute and a half to do that. Go. Okay, welcome back. Thank you, everybody. I guess you had a lot to talk about. Thank you. Welcome back. So, if it's not obvious, I'm not that technical person who's going to talk to you about like how to wire things. I thank you for indulging this opportunity to have something a little bit more heart and feeling oriented, because one of the things that I've really noticed coming out of COVID is that we have been so much in this go, 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 do, that a lot of us are getting tired and a lot of us are feeling a little burnt out. And so it's just important to recognize that that's been going on for us, and we're all in this together, and we've all been experiencing it on some level. So I don't know what your conversations were like about uncertainty, but it sounded like it was rich. So thank you for leaning in and having that conversation. And if you talked about something completely different, that's okay too. So, life is full of rapids, a series of physical and emotional challenges and uncertainties. It can be hard to get a clear picture of what is going on sometimes, and our view can get very fuzzy. Neuroscience shows us that if we don't feed the storyline of an emotion that arises in us, that emotional shift happens within 90 seconds. That emotion shifts within 90 seconds. Knowing this and practicing it and not reacting to that emotion that comes up has many benefits, from not losing your temper with your kids or your spouse or with coworkers and employees to managing stress and anxiety throughout your day. By practicing what's known as the 90-second rule, we can move past the rapids into calmer, clearer water where we can get our bearings and decide what we want to do next. I think it's helpful to know that the reset button can take place within 90 seconds if we recognize our heightened emotions. That's if we can pay attention and feel it, name it, breathe, and then move. This is one form of personal resilience. So what we've just been talking about is the concept of personal resilience, which is the ability to adapt well to adversity, trauma, tragedy, threats or significant stress, allows a person to bounce back from difficult experiences and potentially grow stronger. It involves mental, emotional, and behavioral flexibility, alongside proactive coping strategies rather than just passive endurance, which is what a lot of us have been doing the last 6 years. Key traits include optimism, self-awareness, strong relationships, and effective problem-solving skills. And you all in this room are definitely problem solvers. It's important to remember that we may feel off balance and not exactly sure how to land something. Life is about making adjustments, just like birds in flight constantly need to adjust to unseen air currents. With practice, we can learn how to ride the wind and navigate our way through this thing called life. I keep hearing Prince in my head saying, "Dearly beloved, we're going to get through this thing called life." Yes. Sorry. So when we take this idea of personal resilience and we apply it to the workplace, we can call it employee resilience, meaning that an employee's personal resources, knowledge, and skills that enable them to adapt and recover from challenges they may be going through at the home front or in the workplace. In contrast, organizational resilience operates at the macro level, reflecting the collective strengths of an organization's planning, systems, and processes. These two are deeply interconnected. Resilient organizations foster resilient employees, and resilient employees, in turn, reinforce resilient organizations. For instance, paid time off, some amount of paid family and medical leave, and health insurance benefits not only support employees' well-being, but also help employers retain their most valuable asset, those trained employees, especially when it can be hard to hire any employees these days, let alone someone who's trained. Now, the stages that businesses go through over time often looks like a series of S-curves. As a business enters its intended market channels and begins selling their products or services, they typically experience sales growth. Let's hope, right? At some point, the current operational systems and working capital needed to sustain that growth become stretched and strained. For example, expanding your operation from installing heat pumps or solar panels just in Vermont to throughout the whole Northeast. Without additional resources like working capital, staff capacity, and equipment, and without realigning internal operations like inventory management and SOPs, business owners and their teams face a lot of stress and could face a period of decline and eventual dissolution. You can literally grow yourself out of business. Such transitions must be planned out well. What is often required at these critical inflection points in the business life cycle is a pivot in the business model, or a significant infusion of working capital, or a significant revamp of your internal systems and workforce, or all the above. Working with outside advisors can help you identify and make sense of the stage you may be going through. The important point here is that this is a natural stage of business development. And like all stages in life, we move through them. They are not static. It is key to recognize this cycle and address it head on so you can move through it as efficiently and as effectively as possible. And to realize the cycle will come around again. We as a species are not folks that tend to stand still. We like to move forward and grow and change, even when it's hard sometimes. So at the VSJF, we are firm believers in helping entrepreneurs work on their business and not just in their business. We've observed that the most successful businesses are those where the owners have outside support, such as through an advisory board, a board of directors, or some form of business coaching. It's stressful and lonely to run a business, so we believe it's really important to not go it alone, but rather be part of a community of other entrepreneurs and get outside support over time, such as like conferences like this. All businesses go through change over time, whether it's planned intentional growth or changes forced upon you by the changing landscape and regulatory environment of the marketplace, like the extreme uncertainty we've been facing over the last 15 months. Businesses need to intentionally build a culture of innovation and continuous improvement so that as you grow and as you are forced to pivot in some way, you adjust and adapt your business successfully, knowing that there is such a thing as a business life cycle, and building that into how you work on your business over time gives you a greater chance of being successful. Similar to the name of this conference, Better Building by Design, we can also think about building organizational resilience by design. Our communities and economy here in Vermont need you all to be successful in building and retrofitting energy-efficient dwellings and commercial spaces of all kinds, and for you to succeed for many years to come, regardless of the level of uncertainty and disruption that may get thrown at you. It turns out that the World Economic Forum has developed a handy framework, which happens to look like a building with 5 stabilizing pillars and a strong roof. And that is what we're going to spend a little time on, considering how to build some organizational resilience for your business in these uncertain times. So let's spend a little time thinking about this together. And again, the point of this is that during times of uncertainty, what can you actually control? You can work on managing your own personal resilience and emotional well-being, and you can build in approaches and systems for organizational resilience within your business. It's time to take stock and work on the things you can control. So organizational resilience is the ability of an organization to anticipate, withstand, respond to, recover from disruptions while continuing to deliver products and services. And some key examples include maintaining redundant IT systems to physical and/or cyber disruptions, diversifying supply chains to manage tariffs, shipping delays, and critical materials bottlenecks and geopolitical risks, infrastructure and physical safety, such as navigating possible ICE raids, safety protocols, and training to keep your workers' comp mod scores as low as possible, process improvements, and employee training. Then there's strategic resilience, which is the ability of an organization to anticipate, adapt, and thrive through disruptions by continuously adjusting its strategy and operational capabilities rather than just reacting to crises. And some key examples there include supply chain diversification, moving from just-in-time to just-in-case logistics, proactive scenario planning, identifying potential vulnerabilities in your business model and testing responses to varied market scenarios, strategic partnerships, such as collaborating with competitors for mutual benefit, product or service adaptation by quickly pivoting to meet new needs and new demands, fostering a flexible, learning-oriented organizational culture. Some of the key characteristics of strategic resilience is around qualities of anticipation, using data analytics and observable trends before they become disruptions. So anticipating that something is about to change and getting ahead of that. Learning, treating disruptions as catalysts for growth and innovation rather than solely as costs. And flexibility, investing in adaptable technologies and cross-functional training for employees. Now, financial resilience, a big important topic for the times we are in. It's the ability to withstand, recover from, and adapt to financial shocks such as job losses, illness, and economic downturns. So, I would love to hear 3 examples from the room of what you think of when you think of ways to prepare for financial resilience. Come on, let's go. Good operating budgets. What else? Reserves, having cash reserves. Cash is king. Low overhead. Great. Great examples. Here's some others. Building an emergency fund, that reserve question, covering 3 to 6 months of expenses if you can. Maintaining a low debt-to-income ratio. Having comprehensive insurance for you and your employees. And business diversification, products or services or a variety of services, so that as times change, you can pivot quickly because you've anticipated, you've stayed flexible, and you're able to move. Social resilience represents a community's ability to withstand, adapt to, and recover from adversity, such as disasters, economic shifts, or social disruption, by leveraging social networks. Trust is key, and collective action. Some key examples of that include being prepared to assist with local emergency response, the way that we all pitched in and helped when there was floods, for instance, in 23 and 24. Safety net services, reducing the financial and emotional impact of personal community crises on employees, giving folks that work for us the ability to actually have their lives too. Community capacity building, such as fostering a sense of belonging and team among employees. And then finally, there's organizational resilience, which is the ability of an organization itself to anticipate, prepare for, respond to, and adapt to incremental change and sudden disruptions to survive and prosper. And some key examples of that include the ability to pivot your business model if needed, supply chain diversification again, rapid crisis response planning, employee-centric support, proactive IT systems, and fostering a flexible, innovative workplace culture. So another way to think about, do I have that one? Yeah. Another way to think about organizational resilience is your business's ability to tolerate stress and remain flexible. So Stress tolerance is the ability of an organization to tolerate a certain threshold of stress. The higher that threshold, the more resilient the organization. Organizational stressors could include financial turmoil, lack of labor, or external crises. Again, things that are out of your control. How prepared are you to manage that stress? Flexibility, which relates to the organization's ability to adapt in the midst of adversity. A flexible organization is one that adapts to new technologies, manages unexpected challenges, and is flexible in its workforce. So to sum it all up, the key drivers of resilience overall are related to culture. A collaborative culture with a growth mindset is really critical. Proactive planning, anticipating disruptions, and creating robust, adaptable strategies. Disruptions are going to happen. How do we prepare for them? Diverse operations, avoiding reliance on a single supplier or market. And agility, the ability to rapidly reconfigure operations. Ultimately, building a resilient organization is about de-risking your ability to survive and even thrive in times of uncertainty, chaos, and forces beyond your control. Working on your business to build organizational resilience is a proactive approach to continually anticipating and reacting appropriately to unexpected events, which is another way of saying preparing for and managing through uncertainty. Now, this might sound obvious, but it's really, really, really important to communicate early, often, and clearly with your employees and coworkers about how you're developing and maintaining this organizational resilience, should you choose to really make it work for your organization. Transparency, openness, and communication builds trust and reduces anxiety among your employees, because no one likes to be left confused or in the dark by a company's leadership. It can be helpful to keep this parable of the blind men and an elephant in mind. You might think that you and your team are on the same page, working through organizational challenges and building in new ways to navigate uncertainties, an ever-evolving marketplace, and new technological approaches to building better buildings. But it's important to realize that everyone sees and feels things differently. So good communication, good clear communication is critical to success and can lead to employee retention and not just jumping ship during uncertainty or stressful times. Building anything well, whether it's a building or a business, really requires good leadership, clear communication, a healthy organizational culture, and sound financial planning and strong teamwork. The main message of my talk today is that personal and organizational resilience are antidotes to navigating through the extreme uncertainty we are experiencing these days. And it is also good to remember, as Albert Einstein said, in the middle of every difficulty lies opportunity. Taking the time to intentionally build your business's resilience sets you up to both weather uncertainty, and it can also open up new opportunities, such as internal process improvements, new approaches to your services, or new directions for your business that you may not have considered before. So we can try to avoid being swept up in the crashing waves of life by sticking to calmer waters. Or we can stand up and try to find our footing despite the constant crashing waves that may knock us down periodically. Or we can find our emotional and organizational balance within the waves that will inevitably continue to crash around us. Despite these uncertain times and the feeling of whiplash, we still need to do what we all know needs to be done. Reducing the use of fossil fuels, implementing energy efficiency and conservation measures, deploying solar at scale, training a skilled workforce to support the expansion of the sector, and building better buildings. We need to lean in and keep moving forward despite the national rhetoric or latest post on social media, Don't back down. Keep living into our shared values here in Vermont. Address the challenges you can control, those core business fundamentals like managing your cash flow, budgeting and forecasting, providing excellent customer service and good timely communication, paying great wages and benefits to your employees so you can retain them while also providing opportunities for advancement. Uncertainty is not going away. Whiplash is real. We can't control global markets or national rhetoric, but we can control how we show up, how we lead, how we take care of our customers, and how resilient our organizations become. Focus on what you can control, build resilience by design, look for opportunities, watch for trends, stay nimble and adaptive, practice being okay with uncertainty. And remember, even our emotions shift within 90 seconds. That's a practice worth building. And definitely keep building better buildings at all scales because our children and our grandchildren's future depend on it. Thank you very much.